This raw versus cooked comparison experiment has 3 ingredients. Of course, we have the raw venison, and I've separated some of the venison out that had a lot more silver skin and fat than the rest. It's not only just a flavor comparison, but it's also to find out, does this silver skin and fat have a texture difference between that which is cooked? Of course, we cooked it, reduced the meat, and siphoned off the drippings. And this is the drippings, and this is going to be part of a 3rd surprise experiment. And we're going to get to that very soon. What you're looking at is approximately 18 pounds of deer venison. And you can see these are the size pieces that I'm cutting them into. Placing them on this broiler pan and broiling them on high temperatures for 8 to 10 minutes. This is a raw packed venison pressure canning comparison experiment. We're going to be pressure cooking both of these jars in the same batch, and we're going to find out if there's any texture or flavor differences. Each one is getting a half a teaspoon of salt and a little squirt of olive oil, and I'm going to boil some water, and I'm going to fill the jars of meat with boiling artesian well water. So that ought to be exciting. Okay, so this is the last jar of cooked meat that I'm stuffing full, and I want to mention that I'm really stuffing it in there tight. And you can get away with that because the meat is firm and it's not going to create one large mass. And when you pour the water in, it's going to be able to get between all the little cracks and fissures and force out the air. This worked out just right in terms of the number. I wanted to have 10 of them filled because that's what fits on the bottom of the pressure cooker. And now we can put the raw meat on the top and make sure that it's separated. Now when packing the raw meat, you can't really shove it in there, because if you do, you're going to create one large mass of meat, and it's going to be hard for the air to come out of the meat, and those air pockets can affect the process in that, it might just squirt out all the water when the pressure starts to increase in the canner. I'm just dropping it in there real light. And even when I fill this with water, I want to use a spatula to kind of push around the outside of the jar to get those air bubbles out of there. Putting in a half a teaspoon of salt into all of these jars. Putting just a little squirt of olive oil into each one. I believe that enhances the flavor. Already boiled artesian water here. It's not boiling right now because I turned the burner off, but it's very hot. And you'll see how the bubbles, how the air pockets in this cooked meat are immediately filled with the water. You see the bubbles coming up. See that? I've got this moistened paper towel, and I'm going around this rim of the jar to make sure all of the foreign materials out of it. And foreign would be like salt, or that's basically most of it is the salt, but there could be some residue meat or whatever, and we want to get that off to make sure we get a good seal. You want to get this outer layer to be very hot, and that way it's moldable. And when you put it on the jar and you screw on that lid, this is a lid or a ring, screw on this ring, that rubber is going to mold onto the rim of the jar. There, just like that. So we want to be pouring this water in. Use a spatula to move the bead around. Get all the air pockets out. Okay, we got it. You don't want to move really fast, you just want to be steady, consistent. While you're cleaning off the rim, you're feeling for little imperfections in the rim. there are, it won't seal properly, so don't use that jar. I already checked it when we washed these things out, so we're good to go there. Oh. One more. Well, not really. I've got another little experiment I'm going to do too, so stay tuned. I'm being a little noisy with my utensils. The English queen would be upset with my lack of etiquette. Okay. I'm going to get the next step ready. So hang in there. And this is going to be my third experiment. I'm making soup stock. You can see this is the stock, or the drippings, from the meat that I cooked for the cooked part of the experiment. And I actually added 50% more water. I just had just enough of the water left over that I was filling the jars with, and it equaled the amount of the stock, or the drippings, which was 1 quart. So there's 2 quarts in there, and I have 4 pints. I divided this meat. I actually had a leftover cooked meat, so it kind of worked out really nice. I didn't plan it this way, it just worked out. And I cut it into small pieces, and each jar is going to get a little handful. And then this is the special ingredient. These are dry beans that I fermented. Then I boiled for 10 minutes, cut them in half, and removed the skins. You can see there's some skin left on one of them here. It's alright, I'll leave that one on there. But what I'm hoping happens, remember this is just an experiment, is that the beans kind of just melt into the soup stock and put its flavor right into the body of the liquid. So we're going to can that. Okay, we'll get back to you. Look at that hay. That looks really nice. A 22 quart pressure cooker needs 2 quarts of water. Okay, the cover has a seal in it. See, it's a flexible seal. And put it on like that. It'll get her to warm up faster. And the jiggler, oh, well, I'll tell you what I want to do. I want to reverse that because I like that little red pop-off valve or relief valve. See that, like that. I want that to be facing up. I'm going to look at that. There. Okay. And this is what I call the jiggler. This is the jiggler. And we have 3 poundage settings on it. There's 5, 10, and 15. And this batch is going to require 10 for 75 minutes. So I'll just leave that on the fridge, and when this starts to steam out a little bit, I'm going to put the jiggler on. The pressure is beginning to build. We have some bubbles coming right out there, and if I touch it, it has pressure. It started. I'm going to start my 75-minute countdown. I'm going to be slowly decreasing the heat because we don't want this to be jiggling all the time. We'll lose the water in the pressure cooker. So we want that to jiggle maybe between 1 and 4 times a minute. And that'll get us through the 75 minutes. Yeah. And in this case, this is the cooked venison before I canned it. And you can notice the outlines of these juicy little morsels. They all held together and they look very nice. They look good. Over here we've got the raw packed, and it's all in kind of little, it's all fuzziness. You can see the little pieces floating around in there, kind of disintegrated. And that's not necessarily bad. but doesn't have the same appearance as the cooked venison. It looks really nice. So this is all 4 of these are raw packed, and they all have the same appearance. So it's not just one jar. Yeah. And then this is the cooked venison. I cooked the venison before I pressure cooked it. In this case, I broiled it. And they all look the same. And here's more that have been cooked before being canned. It really looks nice. The lighting is playing tricks on it. Yeah, there we go. So that's interesting. We're also going to do a taste test, but I'm not going to do it today. In a couple of days we'll do a taste test. And here is the results of the soup stock experiment. And looks like it clarified, and at the top the olive oil probably mixed with some deer fat solidified at the top, and then the clarified liquid. That's really pretty. And then at the bottom we have the meat stock, or the little pieces of meat that I cut up and put in there, and the beans. And it looks like the beans did not disintegrate to be incorporated into the liquid. That's interesting. Next time I'll have to mash them up a little bit. But it looks like the meat actually did break apart. Isn't that interesting? Let's shake this up, see what happens. Ooh, that looks delicious, eh? Well, there's some meat in there yet that's solid, so maybe the meat didn't disintegrate. Maybe that's just part of the, that was probably part of the meat of the drippings, the little pieces of meat. Ah, look at that. Oh, that looks really nice. Gonna get a picture of that. There. Okay, that's the conclusion of this video. I'm going to be doing a taste test video here in the future, so stay tuned. We'll get that up in I don't know, maybe a couple days or a week or something. So thank you very much for watching.